Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy here in our Diablo 4 video, and today I want to break down some of the shadow buffs to the Druid that happened in the most recent hotfix. Now, for those of you that did not know, they changed temerity pants to now properly work. In the patch where they said that they would fix them, they didn't actually fix them, and then in this hotfix where they actually did fix them, they changed how all barriers work, and that does have quite a big impact on our bulwark builds and our barrier on Druid. And so today I just want to highlight some things that I've learned about the bulwark and how to properly scale it now after the changes. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. So Earthen Bulwark reads rocks around you for 3 seconds, granting a barrier that absorbs 63% of your base life. For me, that is 5,014 in damage. My base life is higher because I'm level 100. So when I activate my barrier with no barrier generation bonuses, I am going to get 5,014 barrier. And if I had barrier generation bonuses, I could get that barrier up to barriering for my full base health. It wasn't going to give me more barrier than I could have base health. However, now with these changes, barrier can actually go all the way up to your max health. So now I've put on barrier gear. You can see that my Earthen Bulwark at 5 out of 5 is still going to give me the exact same amount of barrier. I've got that 5,014. However, when we go and look at my stats, you'll see that I have 110% barrier generation. So we should, when I hit Bulwark, get over 10,000 barrier. So when I do that, now you can see that I have 10,553 barrier, which even with 110% barrier generation is still less than my max health. Now, I keep hearing barrier scales with max health, which is a little bit misleading. Barrier on Druid with the Bulwark goes up to your max health. You can get it to go up to your max health, but it is still off of your base health. Temerity is a unique that now works with your max health and scales with your max health. Earthen Bulwark scales off of your base health. However, we have more room for more Bulwark. We can basically put on more barrier generation bonuses and get more use out of them. Now, having more barrier does not actually give you more damage with Earthen Bulwark, and I've tested this extensively. Having 1 point into Earthen Bulwark versus having 7 points into it gives me the exact same amount of damage on my explosions. The difference is your barrier generation bonuses. You have to think of your barrier generation bonuses as your damage. It's like basically just a straight up that whatever the percentage is an increase to the damage that you will deal. The amount of actual barrier that you have from Earthen Bulwark isn't going to give you more damage. It's just going to give you more survivability. But what this allows us to do is actually benefit more from the barrier bonus, because we can now slot on more barrier bonus, whereas before we weren't getting much use out of it in terms of survivability. Now the barrier bonus is giving us more use in terms of survivability. But what I've heard people say is like, oh, I've got like +4 on my chest piece to Earthen Bulwark, and I have less barrier, but I'm getting barrier for my base health, like full amount, and I'm not seeing the damage numbers that you're getting. Ranks into Earthen Bulwark don't do anything for its damage. It is strictly off of the barrier generation bonus. Just to prove that to you, here's a clip of me walking up to a bunch of enemies with my Bulwark with 1 out of 1 skill points. You'll see that I hit them, and then the enemies that didn't die are going to get hit by 618,078 damage. That is from the Barber proc. Now, you'll see that I go and I unspec my points into Bulwark. I spec points into Bulwark. So now that we're at 5 out of 5, we walk up to our next group of enemies. I'm going to click Bulwark, and you'll see something very interesting happen. So walk up to the enemies. Bulwark explodes. And there we have our 618,078 with 1 point in Bulwark versus 5 points in Bulwark, the literal exact same amount of damage. And I've tested this numerous times. It is all about your barrier generation bonuses to get more damage out of the Bulwark ability. So what's the big deal? How is this a buff? Well, before there was a quote-unquote barrier cap. This cap wasn't a cap on our damage, but a cap on the amount of barrier that we could generate, and any more points into that wasn't actually giving us any more survivability. With these temerity changes, sorry, I mispronounced that, temerity changes in the most recent patch or hotfix, we are now able to benefit from this barrier generation stat, not only to give us more survivability, but when we're speccing more barrier generation, it's going to give us more damage. Ranks of Earth and Bulwark do not matter for your damage, just stacking up as much barrier generation as possible, and playing on the Shred Explosion build, I was seeing the highest damage numbers I've seen, just because I can spec my stats a little bit differently with this information and fully benefiting from all of our barrier generation. I was seeing some like 500 million hits, which is just ridiculous, and all in all, the build is feeling even better than it was before, because now we get more survivability, because we get more barrier, which is just awesome. Guys, that is going to do it for the video, just a short one. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.